Howdy everybody. We have our first little project to do. Your stuff looks a little bit different than mine. Yours should look a little bit cleaner. These are the example ones that I made in my shop with scrap pieces of wood. So you'll notice there's a longer piece of wood that has 5 hooks in it. There's a smaller that has 3 hooks in it here. There's the 2 concrete blocks, baggy with 2 strings, 2 springs. You're gonna need your tape measure. If you're doing this inside, I'd recommend using an old towel that you can put down on the ground, like this. Just so that you don't have to worry about the concrete block hitting like your nice kitchen floor or something like that. That would be kind of a bummer. You're gonna get 2 chairs. You can use 2 chairs, you can use a countertop and a chair. As long as 2 things are pretty gosh darn close to level, you can use a table and a chair. Make sure that you either put some books on top of something, stack things up, figure it out. You can make stuff flat and level. I'd recommend the easiest thing is just 2 basic chairs. You're gonna take the piece of wood and make sure you don't hit any hooks. Then you're gonna sit it down on top of the chairs like this. That one's probably a little bit too close. Y'all's are a lot bigger. So I'm gonna scoot this up down a little bit there. Yeah, just so we can use that. We're not gonna use it today, but it's something you can do. So you have access to all of your hooks. All right, next you should have your baggie. Go ahead and grab, right now, you just need 1 string and 1 spring. Get ready. You'll notice these springs are really cool. Sometimes these little end pieces get bent a little bit. You can bend those back into shape if you need to, or squish them. They'll be fine. Try not to stretch this out so far that it just stays bent out of shape. This can handle quite a bit of weight, a lot of force, but it's best if they come back in so we can continue to use them to measure things. I'm going to ask you today to measure how long the spring is. So you're going to take this spring, and I want you to measure from that spot right there to that spot right there. Okay, so right there at the end, you see how it starts to come up and goes vertical. I want to measure how long this thing is in centimeters. All right, you can just use your measuring tape. You can use a ruler. Make sure you use the centimeter side, not the inches side. Not that. Make sure you use that one. So I'm asking you today, very simply, measure how long this is when it's not got anything on it. And then I want you to grab a string, grab a hook, or grab a block. Alrighty. Then, easiest, you can just measure it. Just set the hook there, set the spring there, sorry. Measure how long it is. And then I want you to measure how long it is after you put a block on. Let's go ahead and just use a string. It's easier, kind of fits into there nice and easily. These things have, some of these are a little bit pokey, so watch out for that. Take that, stick it onto the hook. You can see it's right in there. And you'll notice that the spring stretches. We're applying force to it. Something's happening. My block's not hitting the ground. If your block hits the ground, you're not measuring how much force. So now I want you to measure in the same spot, right there. All the way down. Sorry, it's not focused. There we go. Right to the bottom there. So just measure those two things right there for me. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. This is our first little experiment. We're finding out that we can kind of visualize, we can see force happening here, right? If you just put the string on the hook, nothing happens, nothing moves. Technically, this rope stretches just a little bit, but you can't really see it, not with such a little bit of weight. But you'll notice nothing's going anywhere really. Stuff might be wobbling around because but you don't notice anything stretching. There's a force being applied to this hook. There's force going through this cord. There's a force on that hook. The force is happening. But we're measuring how much force ultimately through using this spring that allows us to kind of see how much force. All right. Right now, not stretched. Now it is stretched out when we put the hook on. Don't just drop these things. Let it be nice and smooth. All right, I know this seems silly. It's the first step. I just want us to go through this first very basic thing and make this work. We have other stuff we're going to use to do other experiments with, but for right now, I just want you to measure how much this thing stretches on its own. Thanks.